is changing what it means to be authentic online. The more content that's generated without anyone behind it, the more people can sense when something's off. And more importantly, we notice when something feels genuine. Chase Reeves has been on YouTube for 14 years. He co-founded Fizzle, created more than 40 courses, hosted hundreds of podcasts, and designed websites for some of the biggest creators online.
Don't follow your passion, follow your curiosity. Passion is like a thing I'm supposed to be eventually. But curiosity, there's no pressure on curiosity.
Chase has got the full creator skill stack. He's got writing, design, on-camera presence, videography, editing. Honestly, it's a level of skill and taste that any creator would be jealous of.
Social media is bonkers. You want to be a successful creator? You have to get interested in what they're interested in. If you're building an audience around your persona, it's the same need that you had. When you're making something, you're the guide in the hero's journey.
So if you've ever built something successful and wondered why it doesn't feel like enough, this one's for you. Were you at WDS in 2012?
I never went to a WDS, but I was always doing the tour guide for like the cool kids, I guess. I didn't know they were the cool kids even. It was just, it's
just some people who showed up.
Just, oh, you got to come to this pizza place with me.
Yeah. Because you were living in Portland then?
I was living in Portland.
Okay. I showed up, WDS 2012, knew no one. Actually, the very first event that I went to was the Think Traffic meetup.
Okay.
Because the first two people that I met at WDS were James Clear and Caleb Wojcik.
Yeah.
And I registered, went over to talk to two tall bald men. And they're like, you seem friendly, I guess. I don't know.
Perfect.
And so I met them and was talking. And then Caleb's like, well, I'm headed to the Think Traffic thing. Do you want to come? And I was like, sure.
Right on.
And so then I met Corbett and Steve Cam and all these people who were characters in that space. But then it was probably the next year that we met.
Maybe the next year.
I feel like you came onto the scene and were just immediately connecting with everybody, designing everyone's websites. That was the thing. And as a designer, I was like, who is this guy? His stuff is really, really good. So I'm going to start by talking about the kind of the skill set of a designer. Because you're this creator, everyman, you just take on all the projects and you do all the things. But I first noticed you for the design element.
Yeah.
Were you professionally trained as a designer? How did that
No,
come
I
to
read
be?
a lot of websites. I read a lot of blogs and stuff. But no, but I knew how to use computers. I knew how to use Photoshop from a pirated version back in college when I needed to make band posters. So I knew how to use the computers. And then I had a sense of, it'd be cool if it was like this. And then I figured it out from there.
I feel like musicians into content creators is a under discussed path.
Yeah.
What are the skill sets from music that you brought in? Because I feel like that's a space where you have to do everything. You have to figure it out.
You have to, yeah.
And you the hard skills with the mixing and editing, all this carries over to video. What's the direction there?
Yeah. So, I'd say the through line is taste, point of view, perspective, intention.
Yeah.
Right. It's this is, as a musician, I never sat down and go okay, I want a 440 beats per minute love song, something that has a lot of producers now, if I was professional, I'd probably be thinking like that. But I was always oh man, I miss her or whatever. Fuck you, Dodd. What
do I feel and how do I express that feeling?
I was in the hardcore scene in the Bay Area, so there was and in the evangelical, the developing evangelical worship scene, there was a premium on the rawest emotion. Actually, not only that was that moving and touching, it felt cool. It looked cool, and I wanted to be like that. So there was an exploration of feeling on purpose, which requires you to get out from the hair a little bit to actually be seen. Yeah. Right. So it's this mix of look at me. I'm gonna do something that's real at you. And what happened? That's a very tender balance. Trying to do that, because what happens is you start wanting to do the thing that they want to see more than the thing that you want, or you believe that they're not going to want the thing that you want that you're doing, so you get more insular with it, right? Those are at least two paths that you can take, but to be a creator, you're open-hearted and open, authentic, and it's okay, you can look at me. without getting to like fucking look at me, dude.
Yeah.
Because you can feel
There's
it on
a line
those
there, and
people.
once you cross it, someone's like, "Oh, you're just showboating. You're just you're in it for the attention or whatever else." This is no longer authentic.
Ironically for me, I was really good at both of those.
Okay.
Some people are like really think I'm a douchebag. Anybody who spends time with me is like, "Oh my God, he's not a douchebag."
Yeah.
You know? And I'm okay with them thinking I'm a douchebag.
My favorite thing is when people talk about someone who has like an online persona. And then they talk about hanging out with them in person, and they use the word actually.
Yeah.
So it's like Nick Huber, right? Someone's like, "You're friends with Nick Huber?" You know, or something like that. Or I'll hear someone say, "Yeah, I met Nick Huber at a conference and I actually really like him." You know, like the word actually, you know, like I hung out with Chase Reeves and I actually really like him.
Totally.
You know, so say that actually it's like this disconnect between how they come across in person.
Yeah.
Or the human to human connection that comes through. Versus
persona, because it's something about our something I believe is like our the way that the internet the way that the internet works is through nervous systems.
Okay,
this is what you're designing a website from your billion-year-old nervous system to create an experience in someone else's billion-year-old nervous system on the other side of a screen. It's like basically you're like look on two sides of a window, right? And the reality of how this nervous system, in fact, like you walk by someone in the grocery store, this is all online and making assumptions and judgments and this, that, and the other, just as much as on the internet and just as much as in the show and in the game and in the market, so to speak, So like the nervous system really matters in business stuff. Is something that has taken me a long time to think about. But even from the beginning, that's why I oriented towards the feeling. When I was designing websites, it was like, I just wanted it to feel cool. I just wanted to be fucking interesting. Pardon my friend. I just wanted to be just like, hey, check this out. And every time I designed someone's website, I would do it in Photoshop and I couldn't use lorem ipsum. I can't be like, well, his headlight's going to go here or blah, blah,
No filler text.
I would write it. Like, here's what I would do. And every single time they used my copy throughout, right? So that's where I started to realize.
Many of them were writers.
Yeah.
And
all of them were writers. And that's where I realized okay, I've got some copywriting. Right. And that came from I was trained as a pastor. I'm a poet. I like the words. I like the depth of things. And that's you're studying scripture, that's words, right? It's not pictures. It's interesting that that ended up pulling through into a marketing sort of point of view. Another thing that's always been challenging for me is we are marketing on the web. We're asking you to pay attention to a thing. And that took a long time. It's still sort of challenging. I'm doing a men's retreat this weekend and my girlfriend's like, you need to make a video where you just say, come to my men's retreat. I'm always
be as direct as possible.
Yeah, as direct as possible. And it's still a little bit of a challenge to me. But that's what we're doing. We're honestly asking for you to pay attention to this thing, but we're smuggling it in also, where it's like, hey, have you ever wondered why this, that, and the other is so important? I'm Chase. I help creators deal with blah, 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 blah. And then we're we've got some nugget that we're trying to smuggle in. You can't just say, here's the point. Right. You have to juice it up a bit. And then the reason why you want them to pay attention to that actually is so they'll work with you or buy your product or this, that, and the other. It's another phase of the creators. It's we just want people to pay attention. And then you get some attention and you're like, oh, wait, I'm broke.
Okay, so taste.
Yeah.
I feel like there's so many things that are learnable. If you said, Nathan, I need you to sit down and learn how to build a house, I'd be like, no problem.
Yeah.
I can follow, I can do all this. Learn to code.
Yeah.
Learn Photoshop, learn all these skill sets, not a problem. If you said, hey, I need you to learn how to have good taste.
Yeah.
When I'd be like, I don't have good taste. I take it personally in some way. But there's all these creators that we talk to or admire their work and you're like, oh man, they just have taste, or musicians, or that sort of thing. How do you go about developing taste? Okay,
first answer is that Ira Glass quote, right? Do you know the one I'm talking about?
Tell me.
It's fascinating to me that there's still a few things from the early days of the internet that are just as relevant.
Yeah.
like Gary Vee at Web 2.0 conference or whatever. It's like you could watch that today, and it was like 15, 20 years ago. It's just as relevant.
Right.
This Ira Glass quote of him talking about taste. When you first start making things, it's disappointing because your taste is higher than your capabilities. But as you keep going, your taste is up here and your capabilities are down here. As you make things, this is what my answer is. As you make things,
you build taste.
As you become the man in the arena, right? As you're actually not like going like, I would do that differently or blah, 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 blah. As you're actually making things, that's how it gets better. To make things and put them out, you have to confront a lot of psychological material. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
You have to confront a lot, namely your fear of rejection. Right? Which is what like wanted to take me out for forever. And then I figured out how to do a personality that was like, I really don't care. And then it's like, it catches up with you over time. But there is a way where you can honestly open-hearted step into creating and making things. And even though you're afraid that you're not going to get the views, you're going to feel the rejection and all this other stuff. Like that's why we stay out of the game. That's why we stay out. It's also why we sabotage ourselves. So all of this like tricky psychological material is very much at play in creator business, even though it sounds like I just make a blog or whatever. It's like all of this is what I realize now, and what I've helped some clients with is like, you are determined not to be seen. You like want to prove it to yourself that you don't want to, that you're not good enough for it. We got to work through some of that so that you can step out in ways where you can see the risk that's takeable for you,
Yeah, I'm thinking about what you're saying about taste and the Ira Glass quote of you basically put in the reps.
Yeah.
And, the frustrating part of creation is the gap between what you think you should be able to create, what you want to create, what you have the skill set for. Something that helped me a lot is just directly copying other people's work.
Totally.
Like going into, when I was learning Photoshop, I would pull up a website or a graphic designer or something else and say, I'm going to recreate this pixel perfect. And to try to understand what are the techniques that
you literally did that?
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
Because you would go through, and I didn't know that was a technique.
Yeah.
Years later, I've heard like Sam Parr and other people talk about copy work where they do that with great writing, where they will actually pull up, Ernest Hemingway or whoever they're trying
to just start typing along
and actually handwrite it.
Yeah. Wow.
To get like the connection to your brain.
Yeah.
And so there's one aspect of that where if you don't know what to make, go make something that's an exact copy of someone else's, and you like internalize those and build those skills.
Let me pause you there. Can you remember what you're about to say? Because the time to copy something and do that, right? That is like sacred in today's day and age. The younger Nathan Barry going like, I'm gonna actually just make this. I'm gonna fuck around with this and make this. That's the element that like, that's how you build taste, is have that time built in to try something. So specifically to copy something, but also just that time alone is like, I'm putting a pin in that for people to like double click this idea that you got to slow down enough to actually start copying someone. And I'm sitting here, and so are you, saying like, oh, I'm glad I did that. Like, that's valuable.
Yeah. Well, and so basically carving it, like first the intention of saying, hey, I want to develop taste. And so then I'm going to see, okay, whose taste do I like? Who am I going, like, let me curate all of my inspiration sources. And it could be across a bunch of things, right? There might be a YouTuber that you love, there might, musicians, whoever else, right? Like some of the best storytellers are musicians. And so you pull from all these different sources, and then you're saying, okay, now I have the intention, I have the inspiration, and now I'm going to set aside the time and protect that and say, okay, for an hour a day, 2 hours a day, I'm going to learn this thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think what's so sacred about that is your interest is actually an authentic development of your own voice and your own soul. That's what you're interested in. We want to be seen. We want to make the money, like doing something that's authentic to us. That would be killer. That was always the dream, right? I was always going to have my career come out of who I am. Why? Because I'm just a very bad employee. Not good at it. But it's honestly like a kind of a sacred exploration to be a songwriter, to be a writer, and I don't want to like make it sound too highfalutin or whatever, but that pathway of scratching your own itch, discovering what's interesting to you, figuring out how to pulled the thought through to completion
Right.
in a blog post or an email newsletter or a YouTube video, figuring out how to press record and ramble and just, improvise, which is how I got started. And like, I was interested in some sort of a deeper connection to myself. And I wanted to see if anybody wanted to have that kind of connection with me too.
Right.
So for me personally, this was very much like a soulful exploration beyond just, can I do it? Because that was in there too. Can I make a website like this?
Mm-hmm.
Could I know how to figure out how to like light and do camera stuff? Could I perform to camera like with nobody else in the studio? Could I make a song? And like, and all this goes way, way, way back to like high school, where it's like, yeah, could I record something? Could I write something and record it on my laptop, my Gateway, like 6500 or whatever it was,
Something that's so unique about being a creator is the wide range of skills. Like, you don't actually get to specialize. You have to do all of these different things, especially, you don't have a team early on. You don't have any of this. And so it's something that I've always admired about you is you're just like, you'll dive in, you'll learn anything, whether it's design, code, on camera work. Like, how do you think about tackling each one of these? Was it deliberate, or you have something you want to make and you're like, I just decided to make it, and the first version was terrible and the second version was a little better?
I'm laughing because I'm like, well, first of all, what you really need is a deep sense of insecurity.
Step one.
Step one is like, be like concerned about if you're lovable. But that's like, there was a drive. There was just a drive. There was a sensitivity and attunement. Like, I would watch pastors on stage, or watch musicians at shows. I would watch movies, like actors in movies, or eventually learn to see the director and the filmmaker and the writer in the movie. And I would connect to these people as auteurs, as creator, as like a point of view. It's like, still in the age of AI, the moment you get that sniff that it's like, oh, this feels like it's fucking generated.
Right.
You notice that?
Yep.
It's like that uncanny valley feeling where it's like,
ooh, it just asked her, this author just asked a rhetorical question and then answered it immediately later. Yeah. Or said, it's not this, it's that.
Totally.
And you're like,
Totally. Even though like chat's pretty fucking good at those little like juxtapositions, I'm like, actually, that's brilliant. I should use that. But there's something about it that just feels unpersonable. That feels like it's not coming from an actual person and a point of view. And I don't mean there needs to be a human. I just mean I want someone's perspective, a lived experience, and something like that. And because I had those sensitivities and was so curious about those, I guess, forms of media or creativity, because I connected with the filmmaker in the film and the musician in the song, or the songwriter in the song, I just wanted that. I wanted to be that. Same thing with like when I was designing those websites, like I was with Corbett Bart, who we partnered in Fizzle, and he did Think Traffic before that. There was like a personality in the writing. There was a sense of him in there. And I just wanted to create something where that was like coming through, especially with Pat Flynn. When I did his site, there was like this like real California old license plate kind of vibe that we were going for. And Steve Cammett Nerd Fitness, where it's just like comic books and, Lego characters and stuff like that, where it was somehow trying to take some of these elements, because I had to limit myself creatively, but then to pull that through in a way that wasn't cheesy. And then, and there was very specifics in the web design, right? Where it's like, okay, golden ratio on my type. And so if I'm this wide, then my line height needs to be this. And like, and like learning to hand code websites by like percentages and M's instead of pixels and stuff, so that they're responsive and all that jazz. All of that, I fell in love. I had one CEO guy tell me when I was working for Moses' marketing department, and he was like, Jace, you fall in love with the technology. It makes you both the best and worst sales guy ever. You're never going to be my solo sales guy, but like, I like you in the room kind of thing. So I fall in love with the technology. I fall in love with, like, I see the beauty in HTML, CSS, and trying to make it as concise as possible. For some reason, I went from being a musician to also that's beautiful, right? I had a drive to learn some of this stuff. So like, if I'm trying to teach someone how to do that, I want to help. I want to explore where their interest is right now. It was just, it was an interest. It was a need to be seen. It was a need to be a craftsman. And so for some reason that was up for me. For some reason, you coding that website or like, photoshopping it, just like making it pixel perfect. Like, why? Like, right? How do you explain that? There's something you wanted to learn how to do.
Yeah, and I feel like right now a lot of people are shying away from learning a skill set because they've had their identity around whatever previous job they had before they became a creator or something else, right?
Mm-hmm.
I am a filmmaker and editor, so I won't go on camera, right?
Yeah.
I am a behind the screen, behind the lens type person.
Yeah.
Or another angle would be like, oh, I'm a developer. Yeah. And so of course it doesn't look good. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Why would you expect me to make it look good? Like, the code behind the scenes is perfect. Yeah. And what I'm trying to get to with you, that you're probably the person who, of my friends, who embodies this the most, is the obsession with learning every part of the craft. And not even you don't seem scared of it at all. I could learn video editing, but I don't want to. That's gonna be hard. Like, there's something where you just dive in and you just do it. Yeah. Is that like a multi-week process? Is that you're spending months, or you're like, what makes you say, hey, I don't have that skill set and I'd like to, and so a month from now I will?
I guess the first thought that comes up is there's plenty of stuff that I don't decide to learn. Okay. Not like consciously. I just like there's
no interest there.
No interest. There's like no light over there. Yeah. I can't even see it.
Does anything come to mind that you're like, oh, I've thought about learning that, and
It's a great question. Yeah. Like becoming a shaman.
Okay.
Yeah. I was like, maybe I'm going to become a shaman. Yep. And then I'm like, I don't know if I have the ancestors for this. Like, it was just like, that takes me too far away. It just takes me too far away.
Because there are an endless number of things on this earth to learn. Yes. And all of that information is at your fingertips now. But like maybe 50 years ago, you're like, I want to be, and it's like, okay, you're going to have to move countries. You're going, all of this stuff. And now you're like, oh, I connect with anyone.
Now you got it right here.
And so being deliberate about, here's what I want to pursue and here's what I don't.
Yeah, it's that Liz Gilbert thing about don't follow your passion, follow your curiosity. Follow your curiosity.
What's the difference to you between those two things?
Okay, passion is like a thing I'm supposed to be eventually. I'm passionate about this, and it's like, remember you were so passionate about gymnastics in high school? Right. It's like, yeah. But curiosity, there's no pressure on curiosity. It alleviates all of it. It's a subtle, it might be the same exact thing when it's all said and done. But for me, like wayfinding from where I am right now, my passion is like I'm looking backwards to what I've been passionate about. My curiosity is I'm right here looking at like what's alive right now. So there's something about personal interest that's always been important. Not to say, that interest doesn't dip, right? And sometimes I have enough wherewithal that like this is going to be important sort of past the dip, and you stick with it. There's something about your curiosity and your personal interest. There's also something about sensing that there's greatness out there. Like if I was stepping into something where I hadn't sniffed out some of the greats, like with web design, I saw some greats. Yeah. Like, wow, they were doing something freaking different. Like, oh, there's artists out here with filmmakers, with, YouTubers, with freaking obviously musicians and shamans and things like this. You can sniff out some of the greats, you have an experience with them, and you're like, oh, there's something that can be devotional and beautiful about this. Because ultimately, I think that's where I had to get, is it has to be for me. I'm the one who's going to give me the love that I need, actually, first and foremost. Second of all, like if I can make this a labor of love because I believe it's important, and make my own contribution to the field of this thing meaningful as a gift to myself, as like already meaningful, then all of the views and all of the comments and all the love and all of this, that, and the other is a benefit, but like burnout is what happens when we're leaning over our skis, we're leaning forward, and we need that more. Because they can come. That's the curse, is when it comes. Because people don't have any idea of how long this game actually is, and what it's like to be a fucking winner for like years even. But to watch year 4, like it's been trickling down for like a year, and you just see it on these people's faces. This just like, it's a real, you're getting squeezed out because you're not aligned in some way, or what got you there won't get you, what got you here won't get you there kind of thing. Or it's a longer game to be doing this professionally. So I'm like, I want to make a clear distinction between doing this professionally as a living,
right,
and being an honest, honest pursuit of your craft, your exploration, your creativity, your artistry, because you don't need to make any money from any of this stuff,
And it's a hard thing now because you can make money from anything.
Yeah.
Then there's a temptation of like, oh, I like this. I'm getting traction with it. I should make money from it.
There's some old Buddhist precept. I have promised to abstain from exploiting my passion. It's like, okay.
Interesting.
I promise to abstain from exploiting my passions. It's like, because why? Because there's something beautiful, sacred, holy, and true in there. And like a huckster, we can sell ourselves out on the market and end up 10, 15, you don't know how long life is. You end up 10, 15 years down the road having shucked that like sacred stuff out of you. And you're kind of a husk. You can build it all back, right? But again, to what got you here won't get you there sort of thing. It can feel really devastating, and to be that humbled and to come back to yourself. I've seen it happen again and again. I've experienced it, but like, so that there's a way through it. But like, life, another Liz Gilbert thing, life is long and chase is young. There's plenty of time. I'll be saying that when I'm 65, 70. Like, it's this idea that like creative work is a very long-term freaking exploration. And to do it in the marketplace of, social media is bonkers. So I'm just like letting people know, like, it's bonkers. Okay. It takes a lot. It might take everything, but it's also beautiful. It's also very beautiful. And I'm grateful for it. And I'm still surviving. And I was a precious little snowflake. Let me just tell you. Okay. It is delicate in here, but I've learned. I've learned, and you can too.
I love anytime we get a straight to camera, like delivered to the audience. Watch on YouTube so you can know that was a speech into your soul.
It's the eye contact that really matters. Let's talk about something I learned on YouTube. You can literally look into the camera. Like, I would do this for hours by myself. Everything I've done on YouTube is by myself with a freaking camera that I'm pushing record on and setting up all the lights. And I would just like feel like there's a human there. And I would go from that place. I would connect to that place. Then different words come. And I find that is like a really important part of like when I slow down enough to do that, as I'm doing it now. Now I won't look away. And some people are like, this is fucking awkward. And I'm just like, no, this is connection. Like, you don't know, but I know we can do one-to-many like this. And like, I see you, you're good. I love you. Everything's going to be okay, but it's going to take a little work. All right.
That's something that I learned from Levi Allen, who's a great filmmaker.
He's awesome. I love Levi.
Also a very talented, prolific, like will learn any skill. But he always starts his video with, hey, friend.
Yeah.
Like, hey, friend.
Yeah.
Right into the camera. It's not friends. Hey, everybody. So excited to see you all.
Right.
Everybody's
hey,
gathered here. It's just like you and me, we're just connecting. And it's that same idea of, write to one person.
Yeah.
And have that connection.
There's this thing in meditative and yoga experience called the Kundalini awakening. Just go with it for a second. Kundalini is strong energy that lives at the base of the spine, and you want to wake it up so it comes up. One time I had a spontaneous Kundalini awakening, and I couldn't sleep for 3 weeks. And my one mentor at the time was like, shut it down. Spend time in large bodies of water, eat red meat, watch daytime television, do anything that will shut down and bring your energy down, because a Kundalini meltdown will set you back years. And it's like that. I couldn't ground it. I got new access to my like internal system, but I couldn't ground it. I would lie down and sleep, and it would be like fireworks in my body, and the most pleasurable, like amazing. I felt like I had attained something. So to shut it down felt so sad, but I was getting crazy without sleep.
And you knew that it was going to crash. Your mentor was basically saying like, if you don't regulate this in some way, you're going to crash incredibly hard.
So that's the metaphor that's coming to mind for like the internet. You do work so hard to get that pop. It's like, something went viral. We're starting to grow. We're seeing the results. Okay. If you can't ground it, Like literally tree roots go down, tree branches going up, reaching for sunlight, reaching down for the water and the soil. If you need both of these. I'm just like, this is the tantra of it. You need both of these because then you're going to be able to sustain the growth. And that's what we want. Again, if we're thinking really long-term with this thing, which is what we're going to need to do. I don't know how many creators are going so big that they're done in a few years and then they can just kind of cash out. Like maybe people who start email marketing companies, but like the rest of us silly little TikTokers and YouTubers and people who are basically hobbyists creating something that now we're professionals in. It's like, how do we do this over a long period of time? There's absolutely a way, and your audience changes with you over time. And like, there's stages to the game. Also, congratulations, you got that pop. Like you saw some traction. I don't know if I ever really saw the traction. My whole thing has been just like this the entire time. We launched Fizzle. It was like to the Think Traffic audience. Burp, we're like right there, 2,000 members, and we just freaking we were constantly right podcast. Burp, 10,000 listeners. Burp, the whole just time. There, little bit of fluctuation. Same with my YouTube channel. Just been like. Burp. So I'm being taught this like long-term thing, and it feels, I believe in it at least now because I'm doing it, and I've been successfully paying for like my kids, my life, like all this stuff for like years now, for over a decade, like 15 years almost. I mean, before that with Fizzle for longer, but like I've been 10 years on my own with just being a fucking YouTuber. Yeah, you know.
So it's this longevity. What contributes to being able to have that longevity and to actually, if you were saying, okay, I am coaching or mentoring a creator who their tree as a creator is growing tall, and you're starting to worry that maybe their roots aren't matching it. Yeah. How would you coach or mentor them on building
such a good question? Okay, so the roots, if I'm really seeing a deficiency in the roots, then it's like, okay, we're gonna do some deeper work. We're gonna do some actual like depth work. We're gonna get into our feelings. We're gonna do a men's weekend if it's a male or like whatever, some sort of, if you're in a relationship, we're gonna get deeper into relationship stuff. We're gonna understand how to tell some truth to each other, understand what we're co-creating in life. Like that's the grounding out into our domains of ownership is like where our roots go.
Are there specific questions that you like or that you'd assign someone to journal on?
The question kind of comes from the person, right? Yeah. But it like we're probably going to be exploring stuff around mom and dad, right? It's just like we're probably going to be exploring stuff around where do I feel performative in my life. And just kind of getting a little sense of that. And we're going to be definitely doing like somatic, like just sort of stuff in our body, literally down in our body, like our back of our back, down the back of our legs to the back of our heels. That's the thing that opened in me in this Kundalini awakening. Okay. I never heard it. I was like, I wasn't there. I just didn't have, we'd be building some internal awareness there. Lower belly, right? The bottom of the heart, the bottom of the brain, feeling the weight of the brain, the head actually resting on the neck. All this grounding sort of stuff is like, it sounds goofy, but it starts to open our field of awareness to what is good in this thing without me getting all hyped up. Without getting taken away and losing myself in the dream of the success of it. Because another thing to like how we're going to be successful over long term is going to be partnerships. And partnerships, in order for those to succeed, you can't be flaky. And you're going to have to like the fin on the bottom of the surfboard is what keeps you like going in the same direction. You have to develop that fin. And so when a potential client comes in or an opportunity comes in and you got a little bit of like but it's a good opportunity, like there's an extra zero there or whatever, it's like that, like we want to slow down and notice that because what's going to feel like there's momentum and we got to go with it. Knowing that you're a genius, like your nervous system is literally a genius. And like, if you step into it, it's going to be learning in that feeling and doing that consciously as opposed to just like, but that's, we got to do it. This is what we're about, right? We got to go all the fucking way, turn the hat backwards, click send, right? And then you're going, great. You're on the ride. There's going to be some learning. You're going to get some stuff out of it. But like long-term, what makes these things work is your brand deals, your partnerships on those kinds of sides. They matter a lot. They do. And so not being flaky, but also they can tell, like you can tell when someone's coming at you with an opportunity or energy, or they're asking you to do something for them. And you're like, I don't want to do that. Right. You're building an ecosystem of partnership. That's what's going to sustain you over a long period of time.
What I can think of actually quite a few people who I really admire them as humans. I admire their work, all of that. And if they were to pitch me on doing something together, I'd probably say no, because I feel like they don't have that fin on their surfboard.
Yeah.
That they're going to be on to the next thing, or they don't have the stability to follow through, or that sort of thing. And so I like that, where you're saying, hey, how reliable are you? We're talking about building skills earlier. Have you built the skill, the muscle, the discipline to stay consistent and to follow through?
Which part of that is the perspective that we're going to be here for a while. And these are the other plants in the environment. Like these thrive, we thrive. Like there's an ecosystem,
right?
That perspective, and that took me a long time to grow that, because it was just like me, my.
And is that the difference between thinking 3 to 6 months out versus like 3 to 6 years, or that sort of thing, where you're like, look,
it's one element of it. It's one element of it, right? There's other parts of it that are related specifically to you. Like, who am I? You don't know who you're going to be in 3 years. You don't know who you were 3 years ago. You wouldn't recognize yourself in some ways. That Ira Glass quote again about taste. Now your taste is at a different level. So it's a mystery. It's an exploration. That's why this is soul work. That's why I like it so much, especially as a creator. Like God's the creator, right? Like think about that word. Like you're making some shit. This element of who you're going to be and what your interests are going to align with, and the fact that that's like we can have some sense of it, and also it's like as a function of your age, like hormonally. If you're a man at like 43, like I'm like, I know right where you are. If you're 35, it's like, okay, I know right, like, and you might not have much of a fin yet. You're kind of squirrely, because that's what you're supposed to be learning right now. Because pretty soon that fin's going to develop, and you're going to go like, oh fuck yeah, I want to go this way, and I want to take them with me, and this is what we're doing. And then like other people are like, I want in, and you're like, I don't know, I haven't even thought about you, and you're like, things kind of emerge and develop over time. But developing purpose in someone is. You can't rush it. It's like a function of our hormones as men. As we age, like the estrogen goes up a little bit more. That like makes us a little more caretakey, but we also got to navigate the testosterone. Women with perimenopause and all that. Like there's like our hormones is one of the things that like we can be a little bit intelligent about, because at 26, young 30s, you go nuts, dude. Go crazy, try stuff out, right? And notice if you can slow down enough to notice when the hits kind of hurt, or to like be like, oh, maybe I'm not as invincible as I think I am. There's that line in that Bon Iver song, at once I knew I was not magnificent, right? It's like, that's 39. It's a long game. It's a long game. I had no idea. Now I'm so glad that what I've built is able to be authentic to me. I can roll with it. I can change it, shift it, flow with it. B, I have partnerships and in these brands and other creators and like that feel like soulful and good to me, that feel aligned. And C, I don't know exactly what the future is, but I can feel the direction of it. That is holy. That's great. Most of my life, I have been a fucking scared kid trying to get to the next paycheck, right? Just like not feeling like I have done it yet. And I still haven't done it, but I'm doing it more, right? That is a fucking awesome place to be. I'm so glad for it.
Yeah. So something that I've watched in your career and that I've heard you talk about is this idea of becoming known for something on a pretty big scale that's not your deepest work.
Yeah.
Right. And you're talking about the emotional connection to the work.
Yeah.
Maybe things that drive depression or like the downs and the cycles. What did that look like for you in your journey? And then how did you come through it?
Yeah, it's great. It's like, I've always had two skis going. All right. And one of them's the like bigger audience, public facing, figuring out how to make money from that one. This is like the thing that they want. You know about Ikigai?
Yes.
What you're great at, what the world needs, and what you can fucking make. I don't remember what the other one is now. But it's like, this is what the world needs and what they're wanting from me. And then there's the other ski, which is something more. It's like this. I keep using the word soulful, but it's like my authentic flow. I got really into Christianity. None of my family was Christians. I just was like interested and curious. I think I just wanted more hugs, or something. And then it ended up becoming like an identity, and I became professional, and I became like trained as a pastor. Was like a successful worship leader, pastor guy for a long time. And then my wife at the time and I were like, after starting churches, like, I think we're not going to do this anymore. I was literally taking a crap, and she leaned in and was like, I don't think I'm going to go to do this thing with the God who's got the whole health thing anymore. And I was like, all right. But my first thought was, all right, Father, we'll see where this goes. My first thought was a prayer. And ever since then, it's still been an authentic exploration of spirituality, the soulful, deeper work, all the things that can't help but come out from me in here about the longevity, the roots going down, and the sacredness of our nervous systems, and the fact that like the more you get aligned with your nervous system, the more of a chance you can put another nervous system into resonance with you. Because like we're so susceptible to this. Like this billions of years old. It's just billions of years old. So that second ski has always been in this like soulful, deeper sort of side of things. This curious, honest, like cosmic explorer, curious like thing. And I've never quite felt like ready to start just offering that until recently. I started making more offerings and hosting these retreats. Right now, it's just men's work and doing more client work. I've been training and coaching for like 15 years, like from seminaries, and like Dan, who I was with here yesterday, did his coaching thing. And it's like starting to make those offers into the thing that I've been learning passionately over a long period of time, starting to put those things out. I'm surprised how much of me it brought back into my work. Because as a provider and a caretaker, that other ski where the money's already coming in, like that's where I'm scared. I want to make sure that that's going. But as like a soulful guy, I'm like, dude, I'm scared because I'm going to burn out. I'm becoming a husk. I'm like,
and is that as you're like diving in and teaching business content and all these courses and like, what was the thing that you were successul at and not
even then resonate? I was the pastor of that community.
Okay.
I was a pastor and I was a motivational speaker, right? We would develop the content. I would perform it into a course. We would do the coaching calls, and it was an energy of like, I live in a van down by the river. Like, let's go. I'm getting you fired up, right?
Yeah.
And because when you're starting something from scratch, you live in freaking Indiana, and you don't have that many close friends, but you started paying attention to some blogs, and you took a chance, and like now you're paying $50 a month to be a part of this community. It's like, I want to start a blog on this thing. It's like, man, just you need some firepower. You need you need help. Like Diana needs a little juice, right? Diana now has this very successful photography blog, but like that motivational speaker plus pastoral element. And then I was just a teacher. I've always been a great teacher. I can synthesize information really quick. I can put stuff together. I can find what's interesting. I can also go off on rabbit trails, as you can see. But like the like performance of information is not too challenging for me. And also the development of it. Like the very first course we did at Fizzle was called Defining Your Audience. And I was just me. Corb was just like, go make it. Because I was the web designer who, before I would design a website, I would go read every comment on the website.
Right.
I would read every single comment. Because I'm like, who are these people? Well, that's my version of deep research. Because I'm just like, who are they? And I would most of the time see a little avatar, and like this the gist. I didn't read any of the article. I was just like, what's this? Where are they coming from? Because when people are commenting, they're like, look at me, look at me. Like, here's something I realized that's good about you. That's about me, right? Everything's about them. The articles that we're writing is about them, right? The videos that I make, it's about them, actually. They're the ones, it's like back to Donald Miller thing where it's like, they're the ones who are the hero. You're the Yoda. You're not the Luke Skywalker. You have to become the Luke Skywalker in your own life to like take a chance and do something, the main character energy. But then when you're making something, you're the guide. You're the guide in the hero's journey, right? That was fast. And that was like one of the pieces in this defining your audience thing, where it's like an actual perspective of service to understand who these people are, what they're struggling with. Because nobody on the freaking internet is going to love you the way that your mom did, or at least was supposed to. Okay? Like, they don't care. You're still needing that, and that's holy and sacred, and let's talk about it. But like, what they're interested in, if you want to be a successful creator, is you have to get interested in what they're interested in. You have to identify or understand what their need and their journey is. And chances are, if you're building an audience around your persona, it's the same need that you had, right? Where the place where you're the most valuable to someone is right on top of the spot that cost you the most to learn about, right? I don't know. Does that answer questions?
Yeah. I mean, there's a quote that came to mind. I think it's from Phil McKernan, where he says, your greatest gift is next to your deepest wound. And I always think about that. You know, that's in like a very soulful, like, do all the work through your pain and trauma and use that to impact the world. But you could also apply it in a way, going back to the curiosity of, in a very tactical, skill-based way, where you could say, hey, what's the thing that I struggled with the most, you know, as I was learning these skills or learning business or learning these other things, and they'll be like, oh, maybe that's what I can teach, you know? Or they say, if you're teaching something, like, go back to the painful time that you learned that lesson. And if you share that, people will automatically trust you more.
They're in.
Because they're like, oh, that's what, okay. When, even if it's a simple thing that ultimately doesn't matter, like, the time that you were learning to write client proposals and you did it wrong and it cost you a $5,000 web design gig, you know, and so now you learn to do it this way, and now I'm teaching you the same thing, right? I trust you because
like authoritative, actually. Ironically, again, these are billion-year-old nervous systems. It's stuff like that makes so much sense on that level, but might not make sense from like the things we've been trained to try to be.
The thing that it makes me think of is you going back to the musician and the songwriter, and like then it was like almost what gets status in that world of like with the authentic connection and saying like, oh, here's what I'm actually truly feeling. And I think that's true now in the creator world. Of like, not only do people see, oh, you're being real and they connect with you, but and they're more likely to know, like, and trust you, but they'll share it more too, where they're like, oh, this is someone who is sharing from like something that's deeply personal to them.
There's a lot of videos that I've done where I just had a little extra energy. And I did these like songs as intros. Some are incredible, Nathan.
I'm imagining you with extra energy.
Dude, there was some like little vlog I did for a trip to Bozeman when I was working with a company up there, Packed. And I did an intro about Bozeman because I fell in love with Bozeman. I was just like, oh my God. I love this. Is before I saw Yellowstone and all that other stuff. Okay. Now I'm a huge Taylor Sheridan fan, as you can see from my Western shirt, but like, I'm just trying to get like extra status in some Sheridan production, Landman season 3. But the intro that I made for that video is so fucking good. I still to this day have a buddy, Jesse Elder, who introduces me. When he introduces me to someone, he's like, here, watch this. And he pulls up that video.
Like, you're in person together.
We're in person.
This is Chase. Actually, no.
It's so
Allow
good.
Chase to introduce
If anybody knows someone at the Bozeman frickin' travel sort of world, please, we need to hit that up.
Tourism Bureau.
It's one of those partners I'm trying to build. One of those for sure. But I've built a lot of songs with raps and lyrics that like are so much fun. It's so much fun to do, to just like pull that out, and I kind of crush. And then I just drop it and walk away over here to this ski that's like, it's just making the money. But it's one of those questions I have at the back of my head. If I could just go off and do music thing, would I, could I, should I kind of thing? Because that's the most vulnerable place for me to go. And I still like, I play my drum and I pray. I pray with music by myself, and I improvise and I make stuff up. And it's still very much alive, but like to take that and put it like in the look at me kind of place is something I've been much slower to do. You know,
I've learned so much either directly from you or from watching you and our friendship over the years. I'll rat off a couple of them and then go to the thing that I'm like, that I see you doing that I want to learn from you. So first, I still edit the way you taught me, like edit videos, which as a quick aside, that is to hit record on the camera, deliver straight to camera. Every time you make a mistake, just do a clap and then do the take again and then edit backwards. And so you see in your timeline all these spikes,
audio spikes
of the snap or the clap or whatever. And then you can go through and edit all of that. Before I dive into the other things, anything to add? Anything I didn't get right about the way you edited?
That's perfect. Yeah, and I actually would always I would just make those like 3 or 4 of those.
So now
my daughter and I, we play like we just watched all the Jurassic Parks, and so we play Raptors. And she's like, "How do you do it so fast?" I'm like, "Honey, that was 20 years of fucking up on camera. Pardon my French, right?" But yeah, you see the audio waveform, and you can just go backwards, and it makes it really easy to flow. Once you've edited a few times, it helps you to do it. And I'm always encouraging, like we were talking before, to people to edit their own stuff because it makes you better on camera, and that's a lifelong skill. Once you get good at that sort of like being on camera because you understand what you're going to be editing later. I mean, I still edit all my own stuff. I've worked with editors in the past and they've been helpful, but like I just got a little different. It's that taste thing where it just comes off a little bit better. And, you know, I'm 15 or 20 years into a professional YouTube and video maker career. And I'm still editing my own stuff. And I still use Final Cut instead of like all the things I should be using, you know? Yeah. Because it's just like, it's just so fast. But yeah, that's going backwards because then you might do a take 3 times and you're just getting the last one of it.
Because the last one was where, when you were in front of the camera, it was the take you're happy with.
Yeah.
And you moved on.
You moved on from there because you're literally editing in front of the camera. Yeah. What else?
So another one is, unless I hear differently, this is a bias towards action. Yeah. So this is something that you put together actually with Chris Johnson, where you talked about something you learned from him.
It was in Fizzle. We did an interview inside of Fizzle, which was my previous business with Corbett Barr and Caleb Wojcik, and we did an interview with Chris Johnson, who's sort of like this, like he's a little bit like Rain Man about businessy type stuff.
Yep.
And he's like, another thing that I optimize for with my employees is a bias for action. So I say, if you're going to write me an email, what I want you to do is make a decision and say, unless I hear differently, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Then I'll tell you if I want you to change it. But if I don't say anything, you go ahead and do that.
It's like the train is going by.
Yeah.
And if I'm like, oh no, switch directions. Otherwise, I know where you're going.
Totally. That's what bias for action means. And so I took that, I don't know, however long ago that was, and I just grabbed a URL, unlessiheardifferently.com or different. It should be unless I hear otherwise. This is internet like history, and you know, I just loved making all these little one-off websites. It's another thing. I think I don't think it's still there, but smeagling.biz was an inside joke from the Fizzle show forever ago. tinyceramicunicorns.com was another one. I'll just make these one-page websites. Moneystress.biz. Just make these little one-page websites.
One idea.
Just one idea. Like the Money Stress was just like, you're just scrolling down and there's all these little bits of text that you like to stop and read. And then at the end of it's just this dog gif. Just like, what are you so sad about? But the unless I hear differently.com is just like some sample emails, the video footage. Here's how to do it. It's just like real simple. And that ended up getting on, who was that guy on the W3? The guy who wrote like all these HTML books.
Oh, like Jeffrey Zeldman?
Zeldman.
Yeah.
Zeldman ended up like, that was my
pick that up
little moment.
Yeah. You know? And the version of you who is like coding responsive websites was like, yes, I've made it.
I made it. And the version of me in Mexico with my co-founder with a mustache and a pink shirt on video is a little embarrassing for sure.
Oh, man. Yeah, there's so many other things there, but one other one is this obsession in learning skills and just saying, like, follow your curiosity and just saying, oh, I'll learn that thing. The thing that you do that you've always done that I feel like I don't do is holding things loosely and playing, right? Like, you'll do this thing where you're like, should the intro to this vlog about Bozeman be a song? Yeah, absolutely. And like, I think I care way too much what people think. And so the like free form, all of that, like there's too much of a editing process from even what's in my brain to what comes out.
There is a deep care, like wanting to be seen and connected to as me. But there's also like a fierce, like I will fucking leave and go be fine somewhere. You know, like I will be like, people who need to see this will see this and understand it. And it's not for everybody. I remember I used to listen religiously to Maron's WTF show. And he had this, was it Stuart Smith, an English, like sort of alt comic guy on there. And he has just brilliant, but dry shit. And Mark was talking to him about like, what have you learned about doing? He's like, it's not for everybody. I can spot them. Like early on, I'll spot the ones that it's like, and I'll call them out. I'll be like, sir, this is not for you. It's just going to have to hang in for a little bit, you know? And there's something
like in a comedy show, cause it's just, this guy's like, he doesn't get it. But I'm looking at it going like, this is fucking brilliant, you know? And this guy's over here completely dead to it. Like, this is not interesting at all. The reality of something that is actually really well put together, going completely over or under somebody's radar. First of all, that's true and that can happen. Second of all, the thick enough skin to be able to take it. Third of all, the open heart enough to keep going and doing it. So it's not easy. It's not easy, but there's also like the first thing I was thinking about when you're like, you know, be more playful. I'm like, well, listen, Nathan Barry, I'm already covered by the blood of Jesus. You know what I mean? Like we all get in, you know? So, but it's like, there's a strong sense of, you know, and Jesus and I sort of have an open relationship, but there's just a strong sense of like, I'm in my flow. I'm doing my direction in life as authentically as I know how to do right now. And I'm sure I'm making mistakes. And the mistakes used to feel like I would die. Like not just I did something wrong. Like I'm wrong. Right. I'm bad. Right. And now it's a little bit more like, you know, we all make mistakes. What I learned about mistakes is we get to say sorry and we get to try better next time. And I guess that wasn't like I for some reason thought like, what's true about me is that I'm not good, you know? Right.
But I love hearing that you want more of that playfulness. If I was designing sort of a route for that with you, it would be, I want you to do two things. I want you to take some risks, but I want you to enjoy it, to notice if you're enjoying it. So it's not just taking risk, even if you don't like it. It's taking risk for sure, but to find the thing that you actually enjoy. Right? Like to try to start normalizing that experience in your nervous system of like, oh, sometimes a little bit of out of control, a little bit of unstructured narrative, and I'm kind of enjoying myself and I get to be a little, because I've identified with I was a funny guy. I was going to use humor to try to get people to like me. And that eventually became very authentic. I don't remember being all that young and trying it on, but I'm always a little chaotic. I've always had a little chaotic. And the interesting thing, like, is that most people don't think I'm as smart as I am. You know, that might sound like, you know, there's this line in the Bible that apparently Moses wrote where he's like, Moses was the most humble man on the planet, which is a very unhumble thing to say, Moses, right? But like, you know, like to say like, I'm very intelligent, like my mind will I believe I'll get what I need to get. When I'm talking about financial investments and this, that, and the other, there's stuff that I'm like, wow, I just don't get. I just really can't get it. And I'm okay with that. But other things, like I can sense like, no, I know something. Like you come with me down into we go down into soul deep sort of places, and I will be there in a way that surprises you. I'm like, I know that. I don't need you to know that or see that or believe that about me. Like I know that about, I hold myself there. So there's a confidence. there's something that's confident. And the irony is that came from insecurity. That came from like, I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel okay. I didn't feel loved or wanted or connected to. I just felt unsure. I just felt a lot of unsure. And so I would perform and do stuff to get those, external validations and the dopamine. And it never was satisfying. But I like made a whole personality out of it. And it took years for the hormones to start correcting to the point where it's like, I'm ready to feel my feelings now. It's like, oh, there you are, Peter. You're starting to feel the thing that you wanted all along. It's just like you had to go through grief and things that I really didn't want to feel to get there. Now, how that connects to play, if I'm really smart, like how am I going to connect that? But like, those two things of you taking risks and then you actually like learning, noticing if you like it or not, to sense how, because chaos is the mother of us all, actually. Chaos is like where it comes from. Chaos is, we prefer order. Especially like you prefer order. High conscientiousness, Nathan Barry is what I call you to all our friends, right? High conscientiousness, Nathan Barry. Control, directed, disciplined, going in the same direction for a long period of time. Chaos would be a little bit of the antidote to all of that, but it's where that play comes from. It's where innovation comes from. And so to try to get some of that into your system, the quickest route would be just through taking some risks, right? Taking some risks and then slowing down or noticing enough what that feels like. Yeah. Because when you start to feel safer with a little more risk taking, not like not like you're risking your fucking life or something, just like I'm going to say this thing, I'm going to perform this song in karaoke sober. I'm going to do this. I'm going to try like karaoke's great. Actually, that's what I would do. I was the karaoke whisperer of Portland. I taught many people how to do karaoke, and I gave many their golden song. And it is like it's a holy thing. Figuring out where your holy song is, because with the karaoke, you got to be able to sing it like because it means something to you.
Right.
You got to be able to you want people
soul in it.
You want people to hear it because they're having their own moment with it, right? That's like a good enough song, and it also can't be something that someone already did. You can't be freaking Don't Stop Believing, but it can be Faithfully by Journey, which is mine. I'll make the place cry and fall out. And everybody's arm in arm doing the big chorus at the end. But finding that song for you is one of those like risks that I would explore, because then you get to sense ironically through the meaning of this song, and then the potential embarrassment of performing it in a karaoke place where people are drunk anyways, right? It's like none of this matters. None of this matters, but it's all the ingredients are there to play with that little bit of chaos and how you find yourself in it. And that's what's so good about it. And that's what creating in the midst of a public marketplace is like, because we really notice when someone's showing up as themselves. And I think that's what we're going to crave more and more and more over time. It's what we've always craved, but like even more so in the age of AI.
Because it's so different. Like one thing that stood out to me was you talking about speaking directly to the person and imagining the person on the other side of the lens, just watching that and like sitting there and forming an emotional connection to not a direct person, but you can imagine, you can create them, you can have that persona there. And that being so different from reading from the AI edited, generated script off the teleprompter to hit that before you go to the next thing.
Totally. You know what your key phrase in that to me was, here's what this means to me. Like that's the name of the field notes.
Yeah.
Like, right. It's like, or the segment on the YouTube channel or whatever, like, here's what this means to me. Cause what I'm sensing and what you're saying is like actually wanting to be seen a little deeper. Right. It's like that's a little different than play. It's like wanting to be seen a little deeper and wanting to be a little more show your work. Right. And that's awesome. That's right. I think that, from my perspective and from my experience, that only grows things.
Right.
And it doesn't grow things with everybody.
Yep.
Like it grows things with like
the right people.
Just a certain, and it's like, again, that Stuart Smith, like this isn't for you, sir. Right. To put yourself out there in a way, the you call it rigid. some would call it control, but maybe a better word is even just structured. The structured or architecture approach to things makes so much sense. Like a developer, like just like putting it out. What I'm hearing is just what I'm feeling from you is more your heart in it, right? And like you have an amazing big heart. You have a huge heart, family man, built. Like I see you with the employees. It's like, you've got a lot that's golden and glowy about you. And I would like to see more of that. I would tune in for that. And, being, here's what this means to me, like as a way to connect to a little more of that. And also as a way for you to have something to explore in that. Cause it's like a thread. You start pulling it and it's a little different over time, and you're going to have a dip with it where it's like some are going to be great and some are like just, that's why I do them at the end of my videos. Because
talk about this idea of bag reviews. Because at first we haven't even talked about that of like that you do the bag reviews, but then the philosophy, right? Bringing philosophy into that. Yeah.
Well, again, to those two skis, I've got my own personal interests, and I do geek out about bags, or at least I have.
It's sitting under the desk, but I have a bag right here that you recommended for me.
Troubadour Apex, bro.
That's a great bag.
I know.
I love it.
Yeah. Troubadour is awesome. They're like, that's a perfect bag for you. Yeah. It's a perfect bag for you. So I first of all, I find all these soulful brands that are interesting, like Troubadour, who are making elevated products. Right. How do you notice that it's elevated? The shape and the structure and the silhouette of it, the materials, especially on the inside, especially on that handle and the straps, all these little design elements, and the same thing we were doing with websites, right? Where it's like, how do we make this a little different? All these physical soft goods designers are doing the same thing. I don't notice a difference between those two, designing on a digital surface versus it's the same exact thing. And so first of all, it's finding all these brands and relating to them and seeing these products, and all that came from personal interest and curiosity. All of that came from one company that, Corbett knew the guys of Manal forever ago, because they used to come to like bloggy, conferencey, internet-y things. And I negotiated to get a bag from them, and I'll do a little video, and anyways, the rest is history. I still get most of the things in my life for free, including my sauna and cold plunge. Thank you. Redwood Outdoor Sauna, make the best sauna out there. A little bit thicker thermal wood. Okay. I went for the more expensive 10,000 unit fucking heater. Also, don't sleep on the coldplunge.com, because they're actually still making one of the best ones out there. I never got paid from those guys, but I did get stuff, and I do love that stuff. But, there's philosophy that I keep dropping through talking about a product like that, or the sauna, or the cold plunge, or Wandered bags, or Peak Design, or Packed, one of my favorites of all time, which is like, in order for me to express why this is just as interesting to me as that like nomadic, super techie, cool looking one, like to, like that one look, the techie, the Star Wars dudes are like, yeah, I love that already, just without even talking about it. This one, they're like, what do you mean? Like, what's that? I'm like, let me tell you, right? It opens clamshell. Look at these straps. Here's this waterproof pocket here. Look at all this stuff that like, there's things that only start to speak to you when you're on a journey with it, right? The journey itself is what you have a travel bag for. That's the metaphor. When I really started to take off, it was all these what are called one bag travel backpacks, where you travel without a roller bag. Everything's on your back. It can fit under the seat in front of you. Best case scenario, so you can be the last person on the plane. And you get that international flight, and you wake up in frickin' Prague or Denmark or Milano or something, and you're just like, I guess I'm doing this now. Like the day just begins.
But also I have everything that I need.
And you have everything that you need. You're walking through cobblestone streets, which is a real bitch with a roller bag. You're in Barcelona. We're like, I didn't know there was a beach here. It's like, I'm not going to take this roller bag out to the sand, right? It was such a different vibe of doing things. And I was always a traveler. I met my wife, who now we're separated, but like on a trip in Europe right after college, a several month trip. And then I got a visa and went and lived out in Dublin and did the whole thing. I was always once I started traveling, I was like, oh, this is a part of me. Different old places like Europe felt great. The point being, I'm dropping philosophy of that second ski, in that first. It's a second ski strategy in a first ski context.
Oh man. But you said something about that stood out to me when we were talking earlier about the bag, like it being what you carry with you on the journey.
Yeah, my favorite thing to review these days is the everyday carry backpack, like that Troubadour, and because some of my favorites are the simplest in the world. But they got like a YKK injection molded zipper, and the shape of it just feels so fucking good. And then it's just a 3D molded pocket, like a basic old school JanSport school bag, right? God, I love that. But it's a little elevated because I'm talking about like the brown buffalo conceal, right? Or something that like, Wandered has a new thing that I haven't even played with yet, but I got it and I was like, it starts with an N. I can't remember what and it was like, okay, Wandered. All right, because they've been making the Provoke for like a billion years, and it's an amazing bag. I know this is a little inside baseball. Just go with it, because like 5 dudes are like, "Yep, that one. Yep, I know, right?" But there's that everyday carry product is so interesting because as creatives and entrepreneurs, we live out of our bags. We're going back. We're like a laptop culture. I'm always trying to carry as minimal as possible, but there's some things that I need. Like I have these Focal Bethese headphones, which are the best. Like just spend the extra $100 and get these because they're the best of the best. Okay. They just feel incredible. They sound amazing. The noise cancelling's freaking great, but they're spacey. They're big, So I know I'm carrying those because I've already got a relationship with that product. I have a relationship with my brother's old battery that has like the USB-C and the USB mini and the Lightning, even though I only use USB-C, right? It just has a Keep Tahoe Blue sticker on it. It's always in my bag. I use my Studio Neat Pano Book notebook, which is a different form factor, and I love it. I can't get enough of it. Why? What was that?
So the thing that stood out to me when you said that, of you're going on a journey, and it's what you carry with you that I think shapes the journey. And I think about that from an emotional perspective, not about the gear at all.
Totally.
But like, imagine that Barcelona, there's opportunity to go, there's a beach here, all of that, but you've got your suitcase with you. And you're like, I guess we're not gonna go spend 2 hours on the beach enjoying this.
Because we got 2 hours to kill before the train or whatever.
Everything has to
I don't want to get sand in my wheels. Because you don't. It would suck.
And so what, like the emotional baggage that you carry with you on this journey of your life and business and relationships and everything else, like if you can be thoughtful about each thing, whether it's like, oh, my dad was disappointed in me for this thing, and so now I have to always do it this way, and now I'm going to carry this with me, and so I can't go have this experience. I can't pursue this dream,
right? Or even like what am I looking for, right? Like what am I still searching for and seeking? Am I going to find it in Milan? Am I going to find it in Prague? Was it her? Is it that meetup? The WordPress freaking meetup at some pub in Berlin, right? What am I looking for? And travel was so great to be like, oh, there's this, and oh, there's that, and oh, there's this. And now again, 43, hormonally, it's a little more like, okay, the compass is turning inside, and it's like, and also all of the psychotherapy is very clear on this. Like you're going to generate your own meaning. You're going to generate they call it reparenting, right? You're going to reparent yourself and give yourself the love that you needed and didn't get because that ache is controlling your life. And it's not teaching you how to fulfill it. It's just it's like more, maybe this, maybe that, maybe this, maybe that, maybe over here. Because it doesn't even want to be fulfilled. It doesn't know, you don't know how to get into the texture of fulfillment. So baggage, what do we carry with us? I carry that Pano book from Studio Neat because that's where those kinds of notes go, where I'm using their Mark I pen because it's juicy. There's no freaking label on it or anything, and it's got an all metal click mechanism, Nathan Barry. Okay, and their kids are going to fight over it when you're dead, and it uses my favorite pen refill. And I'm writing in there in this weird shaped paper because it's slowing me down enough to maybe notice that I'm satisfied. That like fucking gelato in Italy was absolutely worth the price of admission. Or, a freaking croissant. like the wicker chairs at the cafes in Paris. And just like the vibe of the city, or the road trip through the countryside in France. It's like, am I satisfied now? Am I satisfied now? What do I need? What in this moment is lacking? And slowly over time, like the bag gets lighter.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You need less. It's like, oh, I forgot my fucking toothpaste. I can't believe it. Well, good news is there's the equivalent of a CVS everywhere you go. Everywhere, right?
Yeah.
That mode of travel starts to be less about what I carry with me and more about how I am in the journey, right? How's that for a metaphor?
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay,
well,
the last thing
yeah.
that I want to touch on is I've seen you go from this focus on big audiences and reaching lots and lots of people to small groups and being in person, being intentional with people, and like going so much deeper in relationships. Yeah. Like, tell me about that journey and how are you spending your time in these men's groups?
Well, it's the best, dude, because we don't know how to one-to-many. Most of us don't know how to one-to-many. Every once in a while you meet people who are like professional stage people and they know how to one-to-many, and you're a little bit like, oh, okay. Like,
you know,
you're not even you until you're up there. Got it. Like,
right.
And you don't even really have access to them here. They're like, no, I have a family, dude. I don't need you. You're like, okay, got it. Do your thing.
Yeah.
But most of us, back to that idea of like, what am I seeking? What in this moment is lacking? It is exactly to your point on, what did we call that key word for you? This is why this matters to me. What was the field notes called? I can't remember now.
Oh, I'm not sure.
But like it's like what I think of this. Exactly to the same point on that, Nathan, where it's like, I want to be seen a little bit more. I want to be witnessed. Here's one thing I've realized in these small groups is healing requires a witness. It doesn't require it necessarily. I mean, might not, but I found that like in the men's groups that I'm hosting, man shows up, we create a space of security, safety, and it starts to deepen. The space starts to deepen, which happens really naturally. Vulnerability starts to be expressed, and just the witnessing. This guy is not my responsibility. He's not yours either. None of us are responsible for his life. It's his life, right? He's not responsible for mine. It's my life. When I'm sharing, it's like, you're not responsible for my life. It's mine. Witnessing where I'm at started to become like this like thing where it was actual intimacy, I guess, for lack of a better term. It's intimacy. I'm being seen and it's fine. And it's not like, oh my God, I love you and you're the best, right? And it's not like, ugh, what a fucking piece of crap, right? It's neutral. That space is more scary. I'm less reactive. I want to find some place to bounce off from. What I'm doing, just to the same point of like the being in a little bit more of the chaos and the karaoke and normalizing that in our system, what I'm doing, I'm normalizing reality. That's what we need. I, from a young age, was alone in my room, like creating my own little world. And it was like interfacing with reality was like dodgy. It was like, I don't know. It was suspect at best, And I want to be in reality. In my relationship with my lover, I want to be in reality. In my relationship with my kids, I want to be in reality. My relationship with my customers and clients and the internet at large, I want to be in reality, and I want to help people get into reality. So I find that in smaller groups, and I do one-on-one work too, but like the group dynamic itself becomes this like sort of energetic spaceship that like we can go places with, we can do stuff with. And ultimately, I think of it like a car wash. You come in one end and you go out the other, because what matters is not what this is. What matters is you're going back to your wife, your kids, your business, your career. You're like this. Let me talk to the men for a second. Men have gotten a lot of shit. It's like a lot of the roles have changed. A lot of the experiences and the expectations have shifted. We're all still trying to figure that out, but we will absolutely be holding the world together, or a part of holding the world together. And we carry a lot on our backs, and we've got to connect with each other in ways where it's not just sports and booze, where it's also like, I see what you're carrying. Yeah, that's cool. It's a good job. Like, I hope you keep going. If you don't, no worries, right? And it's like, there's something that we can do with each other. And so like on Instagram, I have this like trend on stories where it's just join a men's group, JAMG. And it's just these funny videos that I find. And it's just JAMG, join a men's group. And it's either reasons why you should or reasons why this guy needed it or like whatever. Because I just want to normalize the idea that like guys can get together in smaller groups, bring a little intention, which is not necessarily comfortable, but like once you get into it, then it starts to get kind of lame when someone's coming in being a performative little turkey. Right. You know, you're just like, all right, settle down, fucking Charles. You know, I can't feel your heart at all in what you're sharing, by the way. You know, good performance. Because like these guys in my men's groups that I'm just a part of, like they walked me through divorce. I walked them through finding the woman that they asked to marry. Our kids have all grown up together. Like there's just so much life you end up walking each other through accidentally once every 3 weeks, right? But that amortized over 3+ years ends up being super valuable. So that's why I'm like, join a men's group, like join a men's group. And if you don't have one, like come to one of my retreats. I work with a guy named David Sutcliffe right now, who is the best group facilitator I've ever seen. He was the dad on Gilmore Girls, by the way. He was like an actor in LA for a long time. And just one of the best I've seen in the room. My buddy Dan Tacchini, who I was with yesterday, who lives here in Boise, who I was telling you about, does like all this negotiation. Another one of those guys that was just like the best in the room. So I'm hosting things at my house that are deep. And then I'm also starting to host like kind of a 101, like a men's activation, where it's just like, all right, here's the basics of the nervous system. We're going to do some sauna cold plunge. We're going to talk about our fucking feelings. And I'm going to show you that it could be cool. We're also going to do these experiences where you're going to see yourself reflected back from someone else who doesn't know you. It's another thing about this where it's like, especially when there's a debate. Do I go like with my buddies? Or do I go where I don't know anybody?
Right.
And there's so much value. I think you were talking about this when you were talking with your coach about the reboot thing as well, maybe, and something like it. But just that walk down and back, you know, with somebody you don't really know about, like this place in your life that you're in, right? That can be wildly effective at getting us to come to terms with where we are. Because I noticed in myself, I just didn't want to see it. It made me feel like a failure. It made me feel like something's wrong with me. And it was being witnessed again and again over time. Like I could still feel the feeling of it, like the scared in me.
You said the word intimacy. And someone explained it to me once as into me, you see. And I like that of just like being with people who can see what you're going through, who can truly, I just bring it to another layer of depth. Yeah,
Terry Real is this great therapist guy. Like when Esther Perel needs relationship coaching, she goes to Terry Real. Okay.
That's a good marketing line.
It reminds me of when like this Dr. Jack Cruz was on Tetragrammaton, which is Rick Rubin's podcast. It's Jack Cruz, Andrew Huberman, and Rick Rubin. And the only thing Rick Rubin does to open the conversation is he asks Jack Cruz, how many brain surgeries have you done? And he goes, over 10,000. And then the conversation off. And Jack Cruz is yelling at Andrew Huberman the entire time. And Huberman's like, okay, no, I get it. I can see what you're saying there. It was fucking bonkers. This dickhead Jack. Anyways, completely separate. But like, when Esther Perel needs coaching in a relationship, it comes to Terry Real. And he says, for those of us who have like addictive tendencies or addicts of some kind, the cure to addiction is intimacy. And that's a fascinating idea. The cure to the striving and the never enoughness and all of that is intimacy. And I will say from my experience, initial experiences with intimacy was actually the feeling of disappointment. Like Trungpa Rinpoche says, enlightenment is the last great disappointment. And I just think that's a fascinating idea, right? Sometimes it doesn't look how we expect it or want it to. We hear the word intimacy, we think it looks like melting into, but it might have more, actually I'm standing here individuated, but I'm in relationship than we expected. It might be different than we expected, right? So that's why over time with a group, that kind of experience can get a little bit more normalized. And then you can start to feel that with your partner. Because Nathan Barry, back in the napkin math, you want to change the fucking world. You affect the relationship between a committed monogamous couple of whatever sex and gender that are raising kids, because what that's doing is that's creating an environment that those kids are living in. It's shaping the worldview and the reality for those kids. Within 40 years, you've changed multiple generations. If you can make aliveness, which comes from being able to tell the truth and it being okay to be me here with you. And it's okay for you to be you here. Because then we can figure this out over time. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk, bro.
I like it. I like it. Maybe a final thing that maybe wrapping all of this together. I'm very curious of what success looks like to you.
What I used to imagine for success was just people paying attention to me and liking me and fitting in.
Yep.
Now it's like me liking me. And ironically, it's so classic. What I needed for that was integrity. I didn't need to be a better artist. I didn't need to be more creative or take more risks or whatever. I just needed to know what I was committed to. And that is like a vibe. Integrity is a fucking vibe. Success is like liking me for sure. And a huge part of that is like touching into and feeling the feelings that I didn't know how to feel. Like I just turned myself off of. Like there was a whole parts of my inner experience that I was, even though I was deep meditator, very experienced in lots of modalities, all the psychedelics, all the things like that. It's like inner child work and touching into relating to this 4-year-old, 7-year-old, 11-year-old, 22-year-old, all these different experiences with Kimmy in Austin, Texas at Kuya. Go see Kimmy. Where something started to happen where I started to love this young me. I started to love this guy because every time I connected to him and I'd sense into like, what is he wanting? He just wanted somebody there to attune to him and just like for him to be okay, to sense like he was okay. And I'll be damned if I don't see that in just about everybody I see out there, you know? Ironically, the integrity and then the like loving into myself, those were available this entire time, Nathan Barry. Like those, I read those books 15, 20 years ago, you know? It didn't click, but now there's such a richness in those, the emotional texture of that is, oh God, it's nourishing. And it feels great. I'm still scared. You know, I'm scared of going into relationship again and being hurt, you know? But I'm with that fear of abandonment in a way that I wasn't before. I would have just bounced right off of it and done big performance guy and try to like get her to like me and still be like, you know, I'm a bamboozler. You know, it takes about 2 hours. I don't know how you've been in here. Like a therapist needs to talk to me for about 2 hours before I'm like down in the substrate. Like, okay, we can just fucking hang out from here. So that's my definition of success. I think is just liking me, and because for me, liking me, because I put myself on a pedestal, and I beat the shit out of myself. Right? Like I expect
the highest standards.
I expect very great things of myself. I've worked with some of the best coaches, mentors, and shamans and guides and artists out there. I've paid attention to and studied, like legit studied the best comedians and artists and auteurs and filmmakers and all this stuff, like in a way where I'm like, no, I see what they're doing. Like I get it. Like I get it. And so like the expectations are really high for myself. In the face of all of that, to just go like, oh yeah, but you know it's even better. It's just liking me.
It's a very simple answer, and it's a very deep answer simultaneously.
Yeah, it's so strange how that's exactly the depth I was looking for, and I was looking everywhere.
Yeah. Oh man, there's so many things I'm taking away from this conversation. I'm just thinking about bringing an element of play in the karaoke. You're talking about karaoke. That terrifies me a little bit, you know, which points to, for me, like an aspect of like wanting to seem put together, not wanting to fail on a public stage, that sort of thing. And so everything,
which is so relatable, by the way, of course.
Yeah, and so everything that I put out there goes through an editor in some way, right? If I'm like, ooh, that was garbage. Like, clap, make my velociraptor sound, whatever, cut it out. And so, you do things in a public stage, or like the entertainment side. I'm like, ooh, what if it's not entertaining? What if I fail? Or that sort of thing. So chasing my curiosity, finding things that challenge me. I don't think I've sat down to like learn a new skill in quite a while. And so that was interesting. I'm like, oh, what if I were to do that? And
what would you learn if you were going to learn something right now?
It'd be singing.
That was so quick.
Yeah. So a question that I like is, if you could like snap your fingers or wave a magic wand and like acquire a new skill, that would be something where I think of it fully. I tend to think of, I think as humans, we bucket things in terms of, like what you can only be great at with like natural ability versus what you could acquire with deliberate practice. So for me, like design, video editing, all this, like deliberate practice, like show up, put in the reps, all of that. You get it. Now math, any of those things fall into that bucket for me. I think like playing an instrument probably in that bucket, but like singing and vocals and all of that would be like, oh, you got to be, has to be innate talent. Yeah. My wife is the other. She's like, what are you talking about? That is absolutely a skill you can learn. She has a different life experience. One thing that I believe as a parent, your job is to help your kids, give them a taste of as many things as possible. Yeah. So they move it from the bucket of like, oh, I could only do that if I had innate talent, right, into the mental bucket of, if I wanted to, I could acquire that skill and I could do it over time. Yeah. But yeah, like I think music and singing would be
that was so quick, Nathan. Yeah. You kind of owe it to yourself. And also there's nothing more like connected and holy than the actual experience of your own voice. Yeah. Right.
And for me, it'd be it's something that's so important to my wife. Like she loves music and she loves, she's in jazz choir. She's, all of that stuff.
Singing harmony is a vibe, dude. Yeah. It's a vibe. It's great. Okay. I'm going to hold you to that a little bit.
There you go. Now I got to be careful.
There's great coaches out there.
Yeah.
There's great vocal coaches and they have you do good warm-ups and exercises and things just to get you a sense of it. Like this is a well-known thing about how to teach this.
But I think for me, if I think about personal development, right, there's the skills that would be interesting to acquire next of like, maybe it's like, you're like, oh, I'm going to learn to be great at AI with this thing. And there's a bunch of skills there. Or for me, another one would be art, right? Like I'm at one point was okay at drawing, like to be great at that. My friend, Kevin Espirito, who runs a blog and YouTube channel called Epic Gardening. He took the last 9 months and he's like, look, I'm just going to become good at drawing. And he went from being like not good to very, very good in 9 months and documented it. But like, that's a very achievable thing to like, I have enough of that. Yeah. Then I'm like, okay, I know I could do that if I set aside the time. But something like, I would say like dance or singing is like, oh, that's actually a little like the curiosity is here and the fear is here.
I'll guarantee you that you hire a coach trainer on the voice thing and do the notebook, sort of some of that notebook content. You're gonna feel more expressed. Right. Yeah. You're going to feel a lot more expressed, which is, I think it's just something that we all want, especially like you're living at the top of at such a high level, right? And you're not feeling fully expressed. You're not feeling fully alive in some ways. Like you can feel the itch or the interest in that. Like follow some of that. Yeah. And that's the best thing about you could just hire a coach to do that. Right? You could just tell some of your people this is important to me. I want you to keep me on task with this. So now I have to keep field notes in my pocket. Right. Although the Studio Neat one's a little bit better. Or Totebook Mini.
Okay. We'll get that in there. Well, there's been so many good things in here. Thanks for the most chaotic conversation I've ever had on this podcast.
My favorite part was it's a 2-ski approach and a single ski. It's a second ski approach and a single ski context.
So if people want this level of chaos from you on a more regular basis, where should they go on the internet to get more Chase Reeves in their life?
Most of it used to be my whole internet presence was very chaotic and now it's very cultured and curated. So, but my YouTube channel and my Instagram, that's where I live.
What should people search? Just your name, Chase Reeves?
Yeah, Chase Reeves Bozeman. Chase W. Reeves on everything, basically.
That sounds good. Yeah. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks, Nathan.
If what Chase and I talked about today resonates with you, check out episode 115 with Justin Sua. Justin works with elite athletes on the mental side of performance. And a lot of what he shared applies directly to what happens when your business grows faster than your identity can keep up with. It's definitely worth your time. Like the video if you enjoyed it, hit subscribe on YouTube or wherever you're listening, and I'll see you next week.